Welcome to our deep dive today. We're going to be looking at this AI task force report you shared
Yeah.
from the bipartisan House Task Force on Artificial Intelligence. And it's a big one. It covers,
Yeah.
it covers so much. It covers everything from,
Yeah.
data privacy to national security to its impact on jobs and education.
Yeah. It's fascinating.
And really, this deep dive is for anyone who wants to kind of get up to speed on AI and its implications, whether you're prepping for a meeting, just need a refresher, or maybe you're just curious about all this. So,
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting too, because this isn't just a tech report. There's a lot of different viewpoints in here. So you get a sense of how AI is impacting so many different areas of life and
Right.
and where it might be headed.
Well, let's start with the government angle. The report says that the U.S. government is spending over $100 billion annually on IT and cybersecurity.
Wow.
But here's the thing, 80% of that is going towards maintaining outdated systems.
It's like trying to build a spaceship
Yeah.
on a foundation of like rusty gears and cogs.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's incredible. And not only is it inefficient, but it also creates this huge security risk.
So that makes modernizing a major priority.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a massive undertaking. But it's not just about swapping out old tech for new.
Hmm.
The report really emphasizes the need for flexible AI governance.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly?
Well, AI is evolving so rapidly that any rigid regulations we put in place today could be obsolete tomorrow.
Mhm.
So they recommend a more adaptable approach, something that can kind of learn and adjust as AI advances.
Okay, so something that can keep up with the pace of AI.
Exactly.
And that brings us to a section I know you found particularly interesting, AI's role in national security.
Right.
This seems like a real double-edged sword.
It is. On the one hand, the Department of Defense is already exploring AI for all kinds of applications like logistics, business operations,
Uh-huh.
even vehicle autonomy.
Wow.
But here's the other edge.
Hmm.
The data that these AI systems rely on is incredibly vulnerable to manipulation. So, for example, imagine if an adversary like China were to subtly tweak the data that's used to train our AI systems. This could lead to, disastrous decisions.
It sounds like something out of a movie.
It does, right?
That's scary.
Yeah. And the report also highlights how rapidly China is advancing its own AI capabilities, which directly challenges the U.S.'s position as the leader in this field.
So it's like a technological arms race?
It is. It's a race to develop and deploy the most sophisticated AI.
Hmm.
And the report suggests a few key moves for the U.S. to kind of maintain its edge in this race. Things like increasing AI training within the Department of Defense and keeping a close eye on policies around autonomous weapons.
So for our listener who maybe isn't directly involved in these fields, how does this national security conversation impact them?
Well, the decisions made at this level have far-reaching consequences. The report calls for more congressional oversight on AI activities, especially in national security, and this could ultimately influence everything from military strategy to the kinds of data privacy laws that are enacted. So even if you're not directly working in national security, this stuff matters.
Okay, let's shift gears now to something that affects everyone, regardless of profession, data privacy.
Okay.
The report doesn't mince words here. AI systems are data hungry, and that creates some real privacy risks.
It's true. AI systems are like superpowered detectives. They can sift through mountains of data and spot patterns humans would never see. But if that data contains, sensitive personal information, the potential for misuse is enormous.
Well, how do we balance the benefits of AI with the need to protect our privacy?
That's the million-dollar question. The report suggests exploring new ways to promote data access while simultaneously strengthening privacy protections.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine a world where you could get personalized healthcare recommendations based on your genetic data, but you also had absolute control over who accessed that information. Achieving that level of control while still fueling AI's advancement is the challenge.
Now, on to a topic I know a lot of people are worried about AI's impact on the workforce.
Hey.
Will robots steal all the jobs?
Well, it's not as simple as robots versus humans. The reality is much more nuanced.
Okay.
Some jobs will inevitably be automated.
Mm-hmm.
But AI is also creating new roles, and it's going to augment human capabilities in ways we can't even imagine yet. So the key takeaway here is that the demand for AI professionals is exploding, and we need to prepare the workforce for this shift.
Yeah, the report talks about the need for expanded training and education pathways, not just for, tech whizzes, but for everyone.
Right, because even if your job isn't directly replaced by AI, understanding how it works will be essential in pretty much every industry.
So it's kind of like the internet revolution. Even if you didn't become a web developer, you had to learn how to use email and search engines and all these online tools. Exactly. AI literacy is likely to follow a similar trajectory. It's going to become essential for almost everyone.
Okay, this next part dives into something called OpenAI models.
Yeah.
I admit this was a bit over my head at first. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. Imagine a powerful AI model, but instead of being locked away in a tech company's vault, it's openly available for anyone to use Study Modify. That's an open AI model.
So on the one hand, that sounds amazing. Democratizing access to AI could lead to incredible innovation.
Right.
But I imagine there's some serious risks involved too.
Oh, absolutely. Think about the potential for misuse. Imagine someone with malicious intent getting their hands on an open source model for generating realistic deepfakes. They could spread misinformation, manipulate public opinion, even incite violence.
That's a chilling thought. It's like giving everyone access to a nuclear reactor without any safety protocols.
It's a valid concern. So the question becomes, how do we manage those risks while still fostering innovation?
And the report recommends focusing on mitigating specific vulnerabilities rather than imposing like blanket restrictions on these open models.
Give me an example.
So instead of banning open source image generators outright, we could develop tools to detect deepfakes. We could educate the public about how to identify them. It's a more targeted approach that aims to balance openness with responsibility.
It's like having a powerful tool. You want to make it available, but you also want to make sure it's used safely and ethically.
Exactly.
Speaking of powerful tools, the report also raises a flag about the energy consumption of AI. Training and running these massive models requires a ton of energy.
It does. It's easy to forget that those sleek AI-powered apps running on our phones have a real-world impact. The energy demands of AI are only going to increase, and that puts a strain on our energy grids, our resources.
So what can we do about that?
The report suggests investing in research to develop more efficient AI hardware and algorithms. It also talks about the need for more sustainable energy sources to power those data centers where these AI models are trained.
So it's not just about making AI more efficient, it's also about making the infrastructure that supports it more sustainable.
Exactly. It's like we're building a city of supercomputers to house these AI brains, and we need to make sure that city is powered responsibly.
Okay, now let's dive into a topic that can be a real headache for anyone who creates or works with intellectual property: how AI is changing the game.
Right. This is where things get really interesting. AI is blurring the lines of ownership and creativity in ways we've never seen before.
How so?
Well, think about it. If an AI system can generate a novel or compose a symphony, who owns the copyright?
That's a good question. It's like if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound?
Right. But in this case, it's more like if an AI writes a hit song, who gets the Grammy?
Exactly. So how do we navigate these murky waters?
The report dives into the complex legal issues surrounding AI-generated content, and it stresses the need for clear guidelines on ownership and protection of AI-created works. We need to adapt our legal frameworks to account for this new reality.
And it's not just about music or literature. AI is being used to design everything from fashion to architecture to pharmaceuticals.
Right. So the report also emphasizes the need to clarify legal responsibilities regarding the use of copyrighted material in AI training data.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine an AI system that learns to design buildings by analyzing thousands of blueprints. If those blueprints were copyrighted, do the original architects have any claim to the AI's creations?
Those are some really tough questions.
Hmm.
Our current legal system isn't really equipped to deal with this yet.
It's not. We're in uncharted territory, and we need to figure out how to navigate it.
This report has definitely opened my eyes to the vast scope of AI's impact.
And we've only just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore.
Hmm.
Picking up where we left off, the report spends a lot of time looking at AI and civil rights and civil liberties. And this is where things can get really tricky.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you have a powerful new technology, there's always the potential for it to be used in ways that, harm certain groups or erode freedoms, and AI is no exception.
Exactly. And the report even acknowledges that our existing laws might not be enough to address these unique challenges.
Huh.
Like, for example, we've already seen cases where facial recognition technology used by law enforcement has led to wrongful arrests, particularly among people of color.
Right, and that really highlights how AI systems can actually inherit and amplify the biases that exist in the data they're trained on.
Exactly. It's like garbage in, garbage out.
Right, so if we're not careful, these technologies could end up perpetuating injustices.
Absolutely. And it's not just law enforcement. We see these concerns popping up in other areas too, like AI-driven hiring practices, access to financial services, even healthcare.
So how do we make sure that AI is used fairly and equitably?
Well, the report seems to suggest that transparency is key.
Okay.
We need more transparency in how these AI systems are developed, trained, and deployed.
Yeah.
If we can understand the logic behind AI's decisions, we're better equipped to identify and mitigate potential biases.
It's like shining a light into that black box of AI and
Exactly.
making sure it's operating fairly and ethically.
Right. The report also talks about supporting standards and technical evaluations that can help us identify and address flawed decision-making in these systems.
So it's kind of like establishing quality control measures for AI.
Right. We need ways to test these systems and make sure they're meeting certain standards for fairness, accuracy, accountability.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just about preventing harm. It's also about making sure that AI is used in a way that benefits everyone.
Okay, let's switch gears now to a topic that I'm personally really interested in: education.
Okay.
The report spends quite a bit of time looking at how AI is transforming education.
Yeah, it's amazing to see how AI is already being used in classrooms around the world.
Uh-huh.
We have AI-powered tutoring systems that can provide personalized instruction learning platforms that adapt to each student's needs.
Yeah.
We even have AI-assisted grading tools that save teachers time and can provide more detailed feedback.
It's like having a virtual teaching assistant that can cater to each student's learning style and pace.
It is. But it's not just about bringing AI into the classroom. It's also about preparing students for a future where AI is going to be an integral part of the workforce.
Right. So it's not just about using AI in school, it's also about equipping students with the knowledge and skills to thrive in an AI-driven world.
Exactly. And that means teaching them not just how to code or build AI systems, but also helping them understand the ethical and societal implications of this technology.
So we need to foster critical thinking skills so they can engage in conversations about the role of AI in their lives.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to cultivate a generation of AI-savvy citizens who can use these tools effectively, but also think critically about their impact on our world.
Okay. Another sector where AI is poised to have a significant impact: agriculture.
Yeah.
The report highlights how AI can be used to address some of the biggest challenges facing the industry.
Yeah, agriculture is a really interesting use case for AI. We're already seeing things like AI-powered precision farming techniques that can help optimize crop yields, reduce water consumption, minimize the use of pesticides.
So it's like taking the guesswork out of farming and replacing it with data-driven insights.
Exactly. Farmers can use AI to monitor their crops in real time, identify potential problems, make data-driven decisions about how to manage their resources.
And the report even mentions how AI can help us address global food security challenges.
Right, because by increasing efficiency and productivity, AI has the potential to help us produce more food with fewer resources, which is essential as the global population continues to grow.
But we also need to make sure that all farmers, regardless of location or resources, can benefit from these advancements.
Right. We need to address the digital divide in rural communities so that everyone can have access to these AI tools and technologies.
Okay, let's talk about another industry that's already heavily reliant on data: financial services.
Right.
AI is transforming financial services in so many ways.
It is from fraud detection and risk assessment to personalized financial advice. Algorithmic trading, AI is changing how we manage our money.
And it's really incredible how AI can analyze vast amounts of financial data to identify patterns and trends that humans would never be able to spot.
Right. It's like having a superpowered analyst working for you 24/7.
But I imagine there are also risks involved, especially when it comes to things like algorithmic bias and data security.
Yeah, you're right. The report definitely acknowledges those risks, and it emphasizes the need for strong regulatory oversight to mitigate them, especially when it comes to protecting consumers from unfair or discriminatory practices.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Imagine an AI system that's used to determine creditworthiness, but it's been trained on data that reflects historical patterns of lending discrimination. That could have really serious consequences for people.
So we need to be vigilant about ensuring that AI is used responsibly and ethically.
Absolutely, especially in areas like finance where the stakes are so high.
Speaking of industries that are being transformed by AI, healthcare is another area where the potential benefits are enormous.
Huge. We're already seeing AI-powered diagnostic tools that can analyze medical images with greater accuracy than humans. We have personalized treatment plans based on a patient's genetic makeup, and even AI-assisted robotic surgery.
It's like having a team of virtual medical experts at your fingertips.
It is. But of course, there are also ethical concerns related to using AI in healthcare, things like patient privacy and informed consent.
Right.
And the report stresses the need to address these concerns very carefully. We need to establish clear guidelines for the use of patient data in these AI systems, ensure transparency in medical decision-making, provide appropriate training for healthcare professionals.
So it's all about making sure that AI is used in a way that prioritizes patient well-being and respects their autonomy.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about something that's both fascinating and a bit unsettling, the rise of synthetic content and deepfakes.
Right. This is like something straight out of a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
But it's happening now.
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of scary.
It is. Deepfakes are incredibly realistic, fabricated videos or audio recordings that can be used to spread misinformation, damage reputations, even incite violence. And as AI gets more sophisticated, these deepfakes are becoming harder and harder to detect.
It's a real threat to our ability to tell what's real and what's not. So what can we do about it?
Well, the report recommends a multi-pronged approach.
Hmm.
For one thing, we need to invest in research and development of technologies that can detect and flag deepfakes.
So it's like developing our own internal deepfake detector so that we can be more critical of what we see and hear online.
Exactly. We need to become more discerning consumers of information. And the report also suggests exploring legal and regulatory frameworks to address the malicious use of deepfakes. We could hold individuals accountable for creating and distributing deepfakes with the intent to harm.
So it's about using a combination of technological and legal tools to address this problem.
Right.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit and talk about how AI is impacting small businesses. I mean, AI could be a real game changer for small businesses, giving them access to tools and capabilities that were previously only available to large corporations.
Right. It has the potential to level the playing field.
Uh,
AI can help them automate tasks, analyze data, personalize customer experiences, reach new markets.
Can you give me an example?
Sure. Imagine a small retail store that uses AI to analyze customer purchase history and then recommends products tailored to their individual preferences. Or a small manufacturing company that uses AI to optimize their production processes and reduce waste.
So it's like giving small businesses a virtual team of experts.
Exactly. But of course, there are also challenges for small businesses when it comes to adopting AI.
Right, especially if they lack the resources or expertise to implement these technologies effectively.
Exactly. So the report recommends creating programs to support small businesses in this area. Things like providing access to training, funding, technical assistance.
So it's about making sure that small businesses aren't left behind in this AI revolution.
Exactly. You're the backbone of our economy, so we need to empower them to leverage these tools.
Okay, this next section dives into something called explainable AI or XAI.
Yeah.
I admit this one was a bit over my head at first. Can you break it down for me?
Sure. Explainable AI is all about making AI systems more transparent and understandable,
Okay.
especially when it comes to how they arrive at decisions.
Mm.
Because sometimes AI can feel like a black box. You put data in, get results out, but you don't really know what's happening in between.
Right, and that can be problematic, especially in those high-stakes scenarios where AI is making important decisions.
Exactly. Like imagine an AI system that denies someone a loan or flags them as a security risk.
Yeah.
We'd want to know why those decisions were made.
Right.
We need to ensure that AI is accountable for its actions.
So how does explainable AI address this?
Well, it aims to develop methods for explaining the rationale behind AI's decisions. So, it's like giving AI a voice so that it can articulate its thought process. And this is really important in areas like healthcare, finance, criminal justice, where AI's decisions can have a huge impact on people's lives.
It sounds like explainable AI is really crucial for building trust in these systems.
It is.
Hmm.
If we can understand how AI works, we're more likely to accept its decisions.
Now, the report also delves into the environmental impact of AI. And I know we touched on the energy consumption earlier, but is there more to it than that?
Yeah, there is. Training and running large AI models not only consumes a lot of energy, but it also generates a significant carbon footprint.
Okay.
Those data centers that house these AI systems use a massive amount of electricity, much of which is still generated from fossil fuels.
So AI could actually be contributing to climate change?
It could. And that's a real concern that the report highlights.
So what can we do about it?
Well, the report suggests promoting research into more energy-efficient AI hardware and algorithms. It also talks about using renewable energy sources to power those data centers.
So it's not just about making the AI itself more efficient, it's also about making the infrastructure that supports it more sustainable.
Exactly. It's like we're building this city of supercomputers to house these AI brains, and we need to make sure that city is powered by clean energy.
Okay, now let's talk about a topic that's often overlooked in these discussions, AI and its impact on international relations.
Right? AI is already playing a significant role in global affairs,
Uh-huh.
and it's only going to become more important in the years to come.
So how is AI shaping international relations?
Well, for one thing, it's changing the nature of warfare.
Okay.
We're seeing the development of autonomous weapon systems that can make decisions without human intervention.
Right. And that raises a whole host of ethical and legal questions.
It does. And the report actually dedicates a section to this issue of lethal autonomous weapon systems or laws abuse.
So what does the report have to say about laws?
Well, it acknowledges the potential risks and calls for international cooperation to establish clear guidelines and regulations for their development and use.
So it's about making sure that we don't end up in a situation where machines are making life or death decisions.
Right. And it's not just about warfare. AI is also impacting other areas of international relations, like diplomacy, trade, intelligence gathering.
So it's like AI is becoming this new tool in the global toolbox.
It is, and countries are trying to figure out how to use it effectively and responsibly.
And the report actually highlights some initiatives that are already underway to address these issues.
It does. Like, for example, there's the Global Partnership on Artificial Intelligence, or GPAI.
What's that?
It's a multi-stakeholder initiative that brings together governments, industry, civil society organizations from around the world to collaborate on AI governance and development.
So it's like a global forum for discussing the challenges and opportunities of AI.
Exactly. The goal is to ensure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits all of humanity.
And the report also talks about the need for international agreements on data privacy and cybersecurity.
Right? Because data flows freely across borders, and we need to make sure that people's privacy is protected no matter where they live.
Okay, so we've talked about the impact of AI on a wide range of sectors, but what about its impact on democracy itself?
That's a really important question. And the report dives into some of the potential risks and opportunities here.
Okay.
On the one hand, AI could be used to strengthen democracy.
How so?
Well, for example,
Yes.
AI could be used to improve voter turnout, combat misinformation, make government more efficient and transparent.
So it's like AI could be a tool for empowering citizens and making government more accountable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, there are also risks that AI could be used to undermine democracy.
Like what?
Well, for instance, AI could be used to manipulate elections, spread propaganda, suppress dissent.
So it's a double-edged sword.
It is. And the report really stresses the importance of being aware of these risks and taking steps to mitigate them.
So what kind of steps can we take?
Well, for one thing, we need to promote media literacy and critical thinking skills so that people can discern fact from fiction online.
Right. We need to be able to spot those deep fakes and other forms of AI-generated misinformation.
Exactly. And we also need to ensure that AI systems are designed and used in a way that respects democratic values like fairness, transparency, accountability.
So it's about making sure that AI is used to enhance democracy, not to erode it.
Exactly.
So we've seen how AI is impacting all these different sectors, but what about AI and government policy? What are policymakers doing to address all these challenges and opportunities?
Well, it's encouraging to see that some concrete steps are being taken.
Hmm.
And the report actually highlights a few of those efforts.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Well, one example is the AI in Government Act of 2020.
Okay, so what does that do?
Basically, it's designed to ensure that when the federal government uses AI, it's done effectively, ethically, and with accountability.
Okay, that makes sense.
So, it encourages agencies to adopt clear AI principles, invest in research, even create a national AI advisory committee to just kind of provide expert guidance.
So it's about laying the groundwork for responsible AI use within the government.
Exactly. And it's not just Congress taking action. The report also mentions Executive Order 14110.
Okay, I've never heard of that one. What is it?
Well, it's called Safe, Secure, and Trustworthy Development and Use of Artificial Intelligence.
That's a mouthful.
It is. And it basically sets some key policy goals from the executive branch.
Like what?
Well, one goal is to promote healthy competition in the AI industry while also protecting civil liberties.
Okay, that sounds like a tough balance to strike.
It is. And there's also a big emphasis on maintaining U.S. global competitiveness in AI, which, ties back to what we were talking about earlier with China.
Right, it's a race.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see both Congress and the executive branch getting involved in this.
It is. It shows that AI is being taken seriously at the highest levels of government.
Now, speaking of complex things to figure out, the report spends a lot of time talking about something that sounds deceptively simple, defining AI.
Right. You know what actually constitutes AI? That's a tricky one.
It is because it's constantly evolving, right?
Yeah,
What's considered cutting-edge AI today might be commonplace tomorrow.
exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you define something that's always changing?
Right, it's like nailing jelly to a wall.
It is. The report actually explores various definitions that have been proposed. Some emphasize AI's ability to mimic human intelligence. Others focus on its capacity to learn and adapt.
So there's no one-size-fits-all definition.
Not really.
Yeah.
The report acknowledges that a flexible approach is probably needed. Something that can evolve as the technology itself advances.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've talked about the government's use of AI, national security, data privacy, the impact on jobs, the rise of synthetic content, and even the challenge of defining AI itself.
Yeah, it's a lot. It really shows how AI is touching almost every aspect of our lives.
And it's clear that we're just at the beginning of this AI revolution.
We are. And the choices we make today will determine what kind of future we create with AI.
So I want to thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the world of AI. It's been a fascinating conversation.
It has, and I hope it's given our listeners a better understanding of the complex issues at play.
Definitely. And to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, questioning, and engaging in the conversation about AI. The future is not predetermined. It's being shaped right now, and we all have a role to play.
That's right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.